Hey guys, so today we're making some iced pumpkin cookies. Please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let's get started with the recipe. So these cookies were so delicious, perfect for the fall. We're going to start by creaming our butter and our sugar. And so this is a vegan recipe. And so I'm going to use some plant butter. I'm using 1 stick of softened plant butter. And then I'm going to add in 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 3/4 cup of some granulated sugar, and I'm just going to cream those together until everything is nice and smooth and combined. And it's going to look like this after everything has been creamed together. And you want to make sure that you scrape down the sides of your bowl. And so next we're going to prepare our pumpkin. And so I do have a can of pumpkin, and I got this really neat can opener. My mom bought it for me. She got it off Amazon, but it's called Kitchen Mama Yes You Can 2.0. And so it is battery operated. And I'm a fan. Like, I have an electric can opener, but it has a cord. So this one doesn't use a cord. It's battery operated. And I love that it opens the can and it doesn't leave those sharp edges. And so I'm going to show you guys me opening up this can of pumpkin. And so I just connected to the can and pressed the button, and then it stops when it's done. I did end up pressing the button because I didn't know, but I was concerned about it slanting. I didn't know I was slanting, but it worked out fine and it closed. I mean, it opened the can, and I like that. Again, it takes it right off. It doesn't have those sharp edges, so you don't have to worry about accidentally cutting yourself. And so I would definitely recommend this product. I'm going to put the link in the description box below, but very easy to use, and I would definitely use this instead of my corded can opener. So as you can see, I'm running my fingers along the edge and no cuts. And so for the recipe, you will need 1 1/4 cups of pumpkin. So I'm not going to use the whole can, but you can see how much is left after I get my 1 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to put a few squirts of this vanilla bean paste, or you can just use vanilla extract, and you're going to mix that together until it's combined. And then after that, I'm going to start to add in my dry ingredients. And you want to make sure that you scrape the bowl so everything is nice and combined. And so here I have some all-purpose flour. And this is 2 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. And then I'm going to put in about 1/2 teaspoon of some salt, and then I'm going to put in a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking powder. That was baking powder. And then I'm going to put in the baking soda. It doesn't matter which order you put it in. But I'm going to add all of this, and then I'm also going to add in 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. And then I'm going to add in a tablespoon of some ground cinnamon. And then I'm going to mix all of this together until it's combined. And so the batter is going to appear to be wet, and that's how it's supposed to be. So don't be alarmed by how wet it is. Um, and I got this recipe off of noracooks.com. I'll be sure to list their information in the description box below, along with a link to their recipe. And so this is what the batter looks like when it's all done. And so I am going to prepare a baking sheet with some parchment paper. And I'm using my cookie scoop to scoop out um, the cookies. And you want to make sure that you get you a small bowl of water, because you're going to dip your fingers in it to press the cookies down. And again, the dough is kind of wet, so you want to make sure that you kind of dip it in the water, press your cookie down, and dip again, because after a while it does start to stick to your hand. So you want to just make sure that your fingers are clean when you're doing this. And so I am going to bake this in a 350-degree oven for let me see here. I'm going to bake it for about 11 to 14 minutes, and then you want to let it sit on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes before transferring it to a cooling rack. And so while my cookies are cooling off, I am going to make the icing. And so for that, you're going to need 1 stick of plant butter, and then I'm going to add in 3 cups of powdered sugar. And you want to mix all of this together. And then I'm also going to add in some vanilla bean paste, but you can use vanilla extract if you want. The recipe calls for a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and so I'm not sure what the apple cider vinegar does for this, but that's what was in the recipe, so that's what I decided to do. And then you can add in 1 to 2 tablespoons of um, non-dairy milk of your preference. I'm using oat milk. And so this is what the frosting will look like after everything is mixed. And so now that my cookies are nice and cool, I am going to spread the icing on top. I'm not going to ice all of them. I baked all of the cookie dough, but I'm only going to ice maybe about 8 to 10 of them. And then I'm going to sprinkle some pumpkin spice on top of it, or you can just use cinnamon if you'd like. And then I'm going to freeze the rest of the cookies. And so this is the finished product. And so if you're not planning on eating all the cookies at once, don't ice the other ones, just put them in the freezer. But I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. It was so delicious. Please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.